I'd like to introduce our wonderful co-presenters, Jenny and Jenny, which makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? And in fact, all of the important information you need to know about these two is readily available via a quick search of the interwebs. So I won't go into any gushing autobiographical material. In fact, I'm under strict instruction not to go into any gushing autobiographical material. Needless to say, I will pay him the highest compliment that can be paid to any educator by another educator. I wish I were 16 again, not so as to avoid repeating the egregious mistakes of my own youth, but just to sit in a class of someone like these two. So enjoy your time in their virtual class. Thanks, everyone.
We'll pay you later. All right.
I was on my way here today and this little ditty came into my head unbidden. We have had a hell of a 2 years. I don't know about you, but my choir is halved and it is a struggle and we are working very, very hard. But music is the answer. And there was another song that we sang at a conference, one of these virtual ones. It used to actually be like the Kahoot anthem that we used to all sing together. And the words were, "We gather here together with joyful heart and mind. We raise our voices over our distant souls to bind, to remember in this moment of friendship, love and joy that music made together may someday heal our world." And until the lockdowns of 2020 and 2021, I always just sang that. These days, I just weep it. If we have a chance of healing our world, we need to do our job well, and we need our kids to feel what we are feeling. So can we not lose sight of why we're here? We are in a big auditorium, and we are singing with colleagues, and live music just, hits me every time. So, from sublime to ridiculous.
Yes, here. I, of course, can't help but look at that and say, what mode is that in? What form? How could we unpack it? What are the rhythms in it? And you have just created an ensemble performance. So there's your classroom. We've just done a whole lot of connections of the study design in 5 minutes. Okay.
If you have not yet had a chance to download your Kahoot app, please do so quickly. If you have, in terms of the Kahoot thing, this always happens in my class. There's always someone who goes, I'm not in yet. We're not waiting for all of you. Okay, so be tech savvy and get Kahoot, and I'm going to switch and we'll get started.
Is the prize?
Oh, yes. Where there is Kahoot, there are prizes. So we have the naughty prize. And
a very, very helpful prize.
And the helpful prize, we have a Listening Beyond Hearing textbook, which is, you know, a kind of thing. And also progressive musicianship, so all by me. And we have people coming in. If you're embarrassed about how little you know about the syllabus, please put in a nom de plume, a stage name. You don't have to admit to anything. So, I don't know if this is... There you go. And if you pretend to be me, you better get them all right. Whee! That's not that bad of a game. It's getting there. Are we going to crash the system? I hope not. Oh, really? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Are we full? Oh, no, okay. Just start after a while. How many people does it take to crash Kahoot? Non-Kahoot. Yeah. Yep, okay, we're ready to start. 5 Miss Gillan seconds. 4 Miss Gillan seconds. 3 Miss Gillan seconds. 2 Miss Gillan seconds, or we could even just wait for a cadence. 2, 1. And I think what you can still kind of sneak on once it's done. So let's start. Okay, first question. How do you know the new study design? 3, 2, 1, here we go. Quiz. How long is the final Unit 4 written exam? 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 120 minutes. It is indeed 60 minutes long. Yep.
It's worth pointing out that we know that you're so busy trying to get through this year, you might not know this stuff yet. That's why we're doing it.
Yes, I had, in terms of the brief, I was like, what can I do that's going to be the most helpful for people? And I hope that this is helpful. So here we go. Okay, so the conditions, this is from the study design, page 64. It's 60 minutes. How many sharps and flats are there in Unit 3 and then Unit 4? Unit 3, 3, and then Unit 4, 4. Unit 3, 4, Unit 4, 6. Unit 3, 2, Unit 4, 3. Unit 3, 3, and then 3. Wow, there you go. It is indeed 3 and 3. If we get any of these wrong, let us know too. We are human.
Is that different from the current study design?
No. Yeah. Oh, DVB coming up at ya. Okay. Oh, I don't know if that comes across so well, but I can go like this. And So it's all there with 3 sharps and flats. Okay.
Yeah, note down the bottom, contemporary 2 sharps and flats.
Yes. In analysing for performance, students write their own exercises. Oh, wow, okay, here we go.
They can.
Yeah, I should have said assessed, but yeah. Okay. So here's the writing on analysing performance. Research materials include musical scores, sound recordings, live performances, text and critical discussion with other musicians. As students conclude the refinement of their recital program, they trial a wide range of general practice techniques and instrument-specific strategies, but it's not actually really specifically stated they have to write their own examples. And again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. True or false? There's no longer comparison in listening analysis questions. Good old 1979, it was a good year. So, you are indeed doing comparisons still, identifying, describing and comparing ways in which performers, composers, arrangers and producers and or conductors shape interpretations through their approach to and manipulation of the elements of music, and you're comparing the treatment of elements and concepts in contrasting versions of the same musical work. Sound familiar? Yeah, good. So don't miss that bit. Something interesting. I like these something interesting. If anyone else has something interesting, please feel free to add. What's interesting about the word composers in there, which actually changes what we do fairly significantly in terms of analysis? Yeah, so the elements of music, it used to be all about interpretation, but if you're talking composers, then that also means everything that's actually on the score. So to me, it actually takes away some of the ambiguity of, you know, what are we actually talking about? And I was pretty excited when that was pointed out to me, is that we're no longer just looking at what is interpretive versus what's on the score, which was always hard to do anyway, because we didn't have a score to compare it to. But now we're looking at what composers do as well. So to me, that's exciting and interesting. Okay. The new compositional device is augmentation, transition, imitation, inversion. Oh, it is indeed transition. Transition. And if we have time later, I actually have a bit of a little activity about transition. I'm really excited about this one, the way composers get from one idea to another. For those of you who teach composition, hands up if you had issues with these, with kids getting from one idea to another. Yeah, it's pretty common. You know, I've got an idea and I've got another idea, but how do we, yeah. By 1979. If that's BCAS, Wendy, cool.
It is to do with speed as well.
Oh, that was nice one. That's what happens when you sit near the front of the classroom, you know. Yeah. Okay. So here are the compositional devices: repetition, transition, variation, and contrast. So for those of you who've been doing style and composition, repetition, variation, and contrast are your bread and butter. Transition is a nice new one. And was there the one that was did you have a, no? No. Okay.
Well, I'm just pointing out that I think it's a different slide, that's right.
Okay. And here's another interesting thing. It's like a ooh, ah, is there's a new emphasis on electronics. So in terms of tone colour, it talks about sound production methods and including electronically generated sound. So that's just one thing to make sure when you're analysing, you're actually listening to those. I think, in my mind at least, in past study designs, the electronic stuff was actually encouraged to steer away from in terms of analysis and mixing and all that sort of stuff. But there is an emphasis on electronic stuff now. Which element of music replaces balance? It is indeed texture. That was an easy one. Yes. Oh, sorry, Wendy. Coatman, awesome. And 6 players have reached a streak 3. Go you. Okay. Interesting, balance isn't actually mentioned in the elements of music, but texture is, which to me is exciting. I'm okay with balance, but to me it's part of texture as well. So, yeah. If you're describing texture properly, you're not just saying what the texture is, you're describing the roles, which are melody, rhythm, harmony, and bass. So you're actually talking about where things are in the balance anyway, and when they change. For your interest, here are the elements of music. So the old one, the list that I have when I have individual tutor students, I give them the list to make sure we're going over things easily. This is going to be your new bread and butter. So duration, pitch, which is separated then into melody, harmony, tonality, tone colour, texture, structure, dynamics, and articulation. So it's fairly similar to what we've been doing already. What format does the analysing for performance task take? Ooh, I'm so sorry that no one's doing limericks or interpretive dances. For those of you who have been in my styles class, I have an interpretive dance for contrapuntal. Do you want to see my interpretive? No, not now. No.
I was going to say, I'm very surprised that no one pressed that just for the sake of it, which just shows you how amazing you all are.
Yeah, there you go. That's right, yeah. Yes, I have lots of interpretive dances. And here's my easy one for dynamic swell. Thank you. That's kind of my kids' reaction too. You know. Good old Coatman. Wendy, you can do it. Barracking for you. Go Wendy. Anyone called Wendy. Okay. So this is the analysing for performance. And it doesn't say a limerick, it says a school-assessed dialogue. And you focus on half the program for Unit 3 and the other half for Unit 4. True or false? Modes are out. No more modes. Oh. 11 people aren't teaching modes anymore.
11% of people.
Oh, okay. So it says identify and recreate scales and modes, including major, natural minor, melodic minor, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, mixolydian, Lydian, and Dorian.
So do we have to reinvent all of our materials?
No.
No.
Interesting contemporary? Yep.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yep. But in contemporary, Phrygian and blues. I see some people going, If you're going to nod your head, you also have to go, Thank you. Blues scales. La, do, re, mo, mi, sol, la, la, sol, mi, mo, re, do, la. Thank you. I don't have an interpretive dance for that one, sorry. The performance exam length for one assessed performer will be... This has been brought up numerous times, so... Yay! Go team! Whoa! 20 people are going over. Oh no, Wendy. Oh, well, yeah, we could do the yay. Yeah, there's two. Oh, well, you find the horse and you stick with it. Like, you gotta, anyway. Okay, interestingly, in terms of the number of minutes versus performer, so the duration of the exam is 20 minutes for one assessed performer, 25 minutes for two, 30 for 4, 35 for 5 or 6. But please note one of the responses to the frequently asked questions and what Marg said about the logistics of what that's actually going to mean if you have 5 or 6 kids in a group who also need to have their solo programs done. So. Multi-select. The performance exam must include okay. The performance exam for performance not for contemporary has to include one performance from the set list, one Australian work post-1990, and one ensemble work. In performance not contemporary, what are we? Repertoire. Repertoire, that's the one. In repertoire, there's no performance statement needed.
There is, however, a school assessed task where they must justify their program, but it's not part of the actual examination, external.
Yep. Go Osho, is that right? Yeah. Osho, okay. I think all anonymity's just gone out the window there, but well done. And so students will present a live performance including at least one work from the list of prescribed works, and they must include one work created by Australian composers since 1990. I think it'd be great if could compile a really good list of things. I'm going to struggle with that. Yeah, potentially. I mean, it depends what instrument you have, and I mean, there are lots of good works out there, but yeah. If only one prescribed list, what are they looking for? Okay, so this is another interesting thing. So perform a selections from their performance program, solo and ensemble works that show control and variation of duration, tone production, ensemble skills, to achieve balance, as well as providing and responding real-time musical cues, and demonstrating an understanding of style. So if you unpack that, you've got 20 minutes to show a wide variety of rhythm, wide variety of different tone colours and use of the elements of music. You've got to show ensemble skills, and you've got to have an understanding of style. So repertoire really needs to be able to demonstrate a lot of different things. So if you have a pianist who's doing one work that lasts 10 minutes, it might not be able to demonstrate all that, especially in terms of a wide variety of styles. So yeah, I'm assuming that your program will be stronger if you choose shorter pieces that are able to demonstrate a wide variety within that. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, the number of chords in chord progressions is up to, yeah. I know, right? Oh, well done. Up to 6 chords. 6 chords. Oh my goodness, Copeman. Osho, getting there. Jay Goyd? I'm not even going to try to say it, but yeah. Go team. Yeah. Okay.
Jay Goad?
Jay Goyd? Jay Goyd. Okay. Identify up to 6 missing chords in a major key. In a major key. In a major key. Just note that, please. Ending with common cadences. And 3 sharps and flats. Different? How? Easier, no minor. I don't know if I can tell this story, but we did actually have a student come to a certain school that I may or may not teach at, and was writing particular scales. And the teacher, who I believe is sitting here, went and said, okay, good, could you please do it in the minor now? And they looked up at her and said, I don't do minor. And now they'd be set. How are 7th chords going to be used in harmonic progressions? They're not. They're examined elsewhere in writing, but not in the chord progressions. Jenny's not exactly sure. More information, please. Only some chords are going to have 7ths. Jenny's not exactly sure. More information, please. In the contemporary, there was a list of particular things, and in this one, not so sure. If anyone has an answer to that. This is what I'm discussing is 3 and 4. Yep.
Anything built on a major?
On notice, yes. So we need a list of exactly which ones are there in 7ths. Yeah. Hey, I went through with an absolute fine-tooth comb to make sure I was not leading that one. Okay, so what it does actually say about 7ths is you need to recreate and notate all triads and 7ths built on a major scale degree in keys of up to 3 sharps and flats. And it says you need to identify 6 missing chords in a major chord progression ending with a common cadence, but it doesn't say in terms of actually listening and the oral understanding of that, what the approach to the 7ths are. But it doesn't say orally identify, it just says recreate and notate. Oral identify. Okay, good. Awesome. We're going to have clarity by the end of today. Number of beats for a rhythmic dictation. Unit 3, 4. Unit 4, 8. 8 and 12. 6 and 6. 12 and 12. It is 8 and 12. Okay. Go J Goid. Unit 3 is up to 8 missing beats, and it together with augmentation, dots and ties. So syncopation's not off the charts. And in Unit 4, 12, and again, augmentation, dots and ties are there as well, which I assume will probably be a big differentiating kind of factor. And there, of course, is the list of the rhythms. Can anyone from sight think of things that are not in here that were in the past study design or the other way around? Crotchet triplet. Tim Katika, yep. Tam T, yep. Yep. And in terms of the time signatures, we're not tutuing, and yeah. We're not tutuing. Or three-tuing. I know that's another interpretive dance right there. Put all the areas of study in their correct order. Number 1, number 2, number 3. No. Come on, team. It is performing, analysing for performance, and responding.
Wow.
It's okay. I've been teaching style and composition for years and years, and I still get the outcomes mixed up. Oh, not much change. Go, Shane. Minor melodic dictations are out. True or false? It's true. We really don't need to do minor. But as has been specified and said many times, this is a starting point, okay? So please teach minor. It's not necessarily going to be assessed in the final exam, but please don't have students who say they can't do minor. They don't do minor. Not can't do, but don't do minor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's a lot of repertoire you're putting out there. 2-part melodic dictations are out. I had a lot of fun with the graphics for this. That's Adam there and Marg. Ooh, it's true. It is actually true. 2-part dictations are out. Okay. Go Tops. Okay. Melodic dictations will only be in major and major pentatonic. True or false? Sorry, that's an American company. It's true. There you go. It's just life's good at the top, eh? Okay, so it says, notate monophonic melodic lines with up to 8 missing beats using major arpeggios, major pentatonic and diatonic major scales in keys up to 3 sharps and flats. It's page 62, your friend. The performance exam contributes how much to the study score? Performance exam contributes how much? Indeed, it is 50%. Nice. Yes. So it contributes 50%, and the oral and written exam contributes 20%. Students need to bring copies of the music scores to the examination. True or false? The answer is true. Okay, and here's the thing. So students may present primarily as soloists or as an ensemble, at least one ensemble work. Program may also consist entirely of ensemble works. Student must also bring copies of their works to the performance examination. And my kind of question there, I guess, is about copyright and originals and all that sort of stuff. It may be the same as Amy B, or nope. Okay. Yep, none of their business. Okay, cool. You heard it here. Now, everyone knowing that Adam is a moderating force. There you go. Oh, podium. Oh, we're done. Tops. Number 3. Woohoo! Go, Tony. Copeman, number 2. And who's number 1? Alison. Well done to those people. Okay, so if those people would like to come to us at the end of the questions, number 1 gets first choice. And I'm going to be really embarrassed if number 1 chooses the wine over the textbooks, but let's not go there. So we might keep your choices secret, just in case people realise the actual value of my work. What best Woolworths can buy, man? It's, top shelf. Okay, we go on with, okay. You want to do your Oh yes, by the way, Listening Beyond Hearing already has chapters on structure, texture, harmony, melody. Shameless plug. We did the Kahoot.
Okay. Look, you may well have already had a chance to do this, and there's nothing astonishing here at all, but I know that our brief is repertoire, and you're going to find out about contemporary soon. But I just did a little bit of a skate through comparing the theoretical oral components in contemporary, and here's the second page, and then repertoire. It's all there. Sorry about my highlighting, looks more like I've tried to blot it out, but never mind. I think by now you're beginning to understand that how much change is there actually? Do we have to throw all of our courses out the window and start again? And the answer is categorically no. But we can improve it. We can just do some beautiful tweaking. And I think it's very exciting. So, these are in yellow, rhythms not included in contemporary performance. But if you have, and I'm getting the impression from everybody, so many of us will be teaching contemporary and repertoire together, there's not that much difference. Just teach it all. Yeah? Yeah. What was that, sorry? What have I done wrong? So, they are there in that presentation for you. Let's look at the time. We haven't got a whole lot more. There you go. There's your plug. Yep.
Okay. So here's my plug. So Listening Beyond Hearing online events. There's Twilight Analysis, Wednesday the 6th of October, and Exam Prep, Sunday, October 17. They're all online. And resources are there. There's a YouTube channel, there's a Facebook page, there's free resources on the website, and you can shop and buy textbooks there too. And conclusions. So, The study design is the minimum level, okay? Please don't stop at major. You don't have to stop there. The study design is designed to get more students to do music, but do more than what's required. We actually need a broad range of students to do music, and that's okay, and it's going to be good for the high flyers too, considering what happens with the strangeness of the bell curve sometimes when you have small cohorts. But there's no Algerian scale on this one. I know. Is anyone mourning the loss of the Algerian scale? I don't know. The performance exam is only 20 minutes long. There's one ensemble work, one post-1990 Australian. There's a range of characters and techniques. And if there are questions, let us know. And we finish in 7 minutes. Do we want to do a transition-y thing, or?
We can. I wanted to talk a little bit about the performance exam.
Yep.
That's okay. To do a presentation like this, it's what do we put in, what do we leave out, and all of those things. And I know that there is information that we're still waiting for, but I think we're confident now that we have enough to absolutely get going with planning, perhaps tweaking some of our exciting courses that we currently have, and making them work for the future. So we look forward to when these other things come out. I'm going to be honest with you, for me, and I have asked many people this question, for me, the really burning question is, how do students form their program when they no longer have a set list? Now, for the type of school that I'm at, it's probably very exciting because they say, oh good, I can do an AMEB exam and I can just do most of those pieces from it, and da-da-da. But is that really what this is asking? And we have to put a lot of thought into how do we direct our students to find those pieces, and their instrumental tutors to find the pieces that have the most contrast. Luckily, if they can choose their own, they can probably come up with something pretty spectacular. But what is that going to look like? I still don't have my head around that. There was one suggestion I read this morning, it could be operatic works all the way from the Baroque through to the 21st century. That could be one way of forming a program. How are we going to do it, and how is the student going to talk with you about how they have determined their program? So I think I'm very excited to get some more information about that and to have some more conversations about that. That's pretty important if it's worth 50%, as it has always been, in 20 minutes, not 25 minutes. I'll just probably pass on to you. Just a little aside, I have been very privileged, somewhat accidentally, to be teaching at Deakin this year, just a 3-hour lecture a week with the teachers. And their assignment in this semester, because Marg came and spoke to the class in the first week, they're doing VCE. So this is great. This has really enabled me to unpack this perhaps more than I might have at this stage. And they have completed their first assignment, and it's actually on Unit 2, but they had to select a work and write lesson plans that unpacked it for all of the 3 areas of study. And boy, have they come up with some amazing stuff. So we old people, don't think for a moment that we haven't got some incredible young teachers out there who know a whole lot of stuff, and they're doing an amazing, amazing job. So there are lots of exciting lesson plans which I'd love to share once we I get a chance to ask the students what I may use of their work, and some just great pieces that they've analysed, pulled apart, found all the elements of music in the new study design, found ways that they would teach those pieces in performance. So it's very exciting. Let's get going. Okay.
So I think we're open for questions now.
I'm wondering if you need the moderator to direct questions, or are you happy just to point to people and listen to them?
Would you like to moderate?
They have to go to the...
So if you have a burning question, then please step up to one of the 2 microphones and I'll point at you with my authority stick. Dragon heartstring core, elderwood. And I know what you're thinking, JK got cancelled. Transition is definitely in the new study design, all right? So I'm not giving this stick up. We have an eager questioner.
Oh, is this on? Yep. Looking at the performance requirements with one ensemble work and one post-1991, the ensemble work, it said that it needed to be with at least one other musician or a group. Would the one other musician be the accompanist, or does it need to be a work that's written for two equally important lines?
Okay, I completely understand, because until this morning I hadn't read the frequently asked questions either, but if you go back to that, it can be the accompanist. But ideally you would choose a work where the accompanist and the soloist are fairly evenly matched, and they can share that dialogue. So that's a great question. That's what we're here for, just to clarify things like that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello, my question is around contemporary instruments and repertoire. So in the past, say, a contemporary guitarist has chosen music off a syllabus that is notated. They're expected to go in and play the transcription or the syllabus so it's equally assessed. Would students who are contemporary guitarists, for example, or bass guitarists who then learn their repertoire from Play Along with Metallica or Hal Leonard Volume 32 rock hits be considered repertoire performers, or would they then be expected to do the contemporary stream because of the nature of their repertoire?
A topic close to my heart.
Would you like to answer?
I need both Jennies to do this simultaneously before I answer that one. Okay, I've got the twin authentication. The conceptual bridge we all need to cross over is that even though one's called contemporary, one's called repertoire, we're not really talking about style. We're talking about a mode of music making. If your mode of music making is I play the material on the page and I interpret it according to historical or stylistic factors, if I'm an interpreter of written material, I'm doing repertoire. If I am learning informally, if I'm improvising, if I'm bringing personal voice, if I'm learning from YouTube and peers and that whole Lucy Green thing, if that's my main practice, I'm a contemporary musician. But I could be a contemporary musician who improvises in Baroque style. And I could be a repertoire musician who plays hair metal, but it's all notated. It's about the mode, not the style, but we've done a best fit because there's a cultural precedent that says one of those broad areas of music making tends to map onto that. But that's why when you see the prescribed lists, looking to Mark for a safe word, you'll see the prescribed lists are very Catholic. That's with a small c, guys, don't get too excited. They're very Catholic in terms of the stylistic remit that they address. Yeah.
Okay, so then herein lies the issue where you might have a student who learns one thing off a notated thing and then the rest of their repertoire is YouTube or by ear or going to the lesson and the teacher spoon-feeding them segments each week. Yeah.
Yep, when you pop the lid on the box, if Schrodinger's cat is dead or alive, that's what you're going to be. You've actually got to be one or the other. As we say in Yiddish.
So it's just, I guess, up to the classroom teacher to make that decision.
I think the kid's got to commit to what mode of music making most appeals to them, most fits them and best represents them.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Adam. I can confidently say that I wouldn't have answered that question quite so eloquently, but it is quite clear in the study design that the student will have to make that decision. Some of them may be working in both modes, but poor choice of words probably, but let's make that decision clear. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Hello, I'm Stephen Coots. I teach across a few schools, and I just had a question about the formation of the program. So I was just talking with a colleague just before, should we really think outside the box now? Like, does it give the students an opportunity to form their program based around like a theme that they might want to explore or something like that? Because it seems to me, reading that, and I still need to get my head around that, but it gives students the opportunity to explore a passion maybe through a whole range of repertoire and styles and time periods. Is that something that we can explore?
To answer that question, I would say that's exactly how I have been thinking. What is going to make a program cohesive? But I think that's only one of many, many options that might make an appropriate program, and it would be up to the student, but they would have to be able to justify why they have, you know, are they looking at articulation, different forms of articulation? Are they looking at time periods? Are they looking at one particular style's transformation across the ages? I don't know, but we will have to be able to direct them somehow to come up with that, you know, not just a random selection of pieces. In my mind, that's where I'm headed, but I can't actually answer that question just yet. We await those. Yeah, okay, good. Marg's given me the thumbs up, so, so that's fantastic. Okay.
Over to the right.
Hello, Scott, Yarra Valley Grammar. This question follows on from the first one, really, and it may have been answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If your student is a pianist, would their ensemble work, do we think, count as accompanying someone else, just one other person? Would that would tick the box for ensemble, we think?
Yes.
Excellent.
Glad I didn't need to wind her up. And over on my left.
Hi, Maureen from Trinity. So halfway through the year, I got onto the Australian Music Centre's website to research violin pieces written after 1990. And it was a nightmare trying to go through their database and filter things out. I sent them an email, and they decided not to answer. Is there any other resource? What resources are we using? Can you help out?
Yeah, I mean, I should own my bias here. I've been a member of the Australian Music Centre for ages. They're amazing, but they're also trying to do an incredible amount of work with almost no money. But if you call them back a few times, you will speak to the librarian, and the librarian will absolutely be able to solve your problems. But I would suggest for Australian work after 1990 that students can be encouraged to compose original work. And we've got schools full of young composers, you know, who you can get on the blower to. You can contact VSV. Hi, can one of your 50 composers consider writing a violin piece for my student? You can think outside the square and find original Australian work. You literally step out the door, you can trip over it because there's tons of creative people working in that space. You just need to go and find them.
Yeah, and they have to do it in time, and they have to fit with the rest of the
Indeed,
program.
they do. It's not without challenge, but it's an absolutely worthy thing to go there and find new repertoire.
Thank you.
Yep.
The other thing I think we need to do is actually get there are lots of amazing, young and older Australian composers that if they're aware that this is an opportunity, it's possible. But I think it'd be great if there was a place where these pieces could be collated and some kind of shared in some kind of forum as well.
And also there won't be a single prescribed list that doesn't have Australian work and that doesn't have, this is for repertoire, that won't have Australian work, that won't have ensemble work, that won't have work by female composers. They'll all have those. A question?
Thank you, Adam. Not so much a question, but a statement. Leon de Bruin, University of Melbourne. I'm working in hand with some colleagues at the University of Melbourne, including Stuart Greenbaum, Linda Gavaris, Katie Abbott, some fantastic Melbourne Australian composers. We're going to look at getting them to revisit their catalogue and somehow make some kind of repository where great Australian works for so many of our instruments can be made available, and we'll try and find some kind of easily accessible website for that to occur.
That's great, Leon, thanks.
Hello, just piggybacks on what you just said, really, in the sensible, logical place for those, at least a short list of 10 pieces as a flute teacher, would be on the prescribed list of things that are easily available from AMC. Would that not be sensible and logical?
Yeah, AMC do have that material, but you might need to contact them.
But shouldn't it be on the VCE flute list?
Well, no, because we can't account for all instrumental culture for all instruments, but we can definitely point people in the right direction. And the flute list itself will also have a number of Australian works since 1990. So, I think, do we need to call time? Okay.
I have a question. Are there any questions that we haven't answered yet? What have we not covered? At the microphone, Kelly? Yep, beautiful. Kate, is that Kate up?
It is Kate up here.
Yeah.
I just want a little bit of clarity around the idea that in this performance exam we can have a range of all sorts of styles of music, you know, Baroque, contemporary, musical theatre, the works. Just clarifying then that you talked about things needing to be notated in this situation, but some of the genres I've just talked about do have ornamentation that's not necessarily notated. So I'm just checking that we're good to go using those sorts of additions to our songs when we're not doing the contemporary syllabus in contemporary songs.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't get any gold stars for going into full-blown improvisation for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you're interpreting the music according to historically informed practice or according to the style, then that's 100% the main thing we're looking for in repertoire, just as the main thing we're looking for in contemporary is that personal voice. That's the add-on to it that separates the two subjects.
I thought that was the case. I just wanted to clarify.
No, thank you.
And hooray for change!
Hi, Chris Sluice from Westbourne Grammar School. Will there be exam venues available that have more than one piano in the space for students who wish to present multi-piano works as their ensemble works?
I would say there have to be. Yeah.
Great.
Just a little bit of clarity about the Australian works. We've got a lot of composers that were born overseas, but they're considered as Australian composers. One example would be Sunny Chua. What's going to be the ruling about that? Is there a bit of give and take with those composers?
I think that's probably why Australian Music Centre is a good place, because they've obviously signed on identifying as Australian composers. There are many composers who were born here have had most of their career overseas, like Matthew Slomowitz, whose work I heard last weekend.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you look at the biography, if they're leading with blah, blah, blah is an Australian composer, or an Australian-American composer, Australian-Irish composer, I think you're probably safe.
Okay, thanks.
Students who present with cultural instruments where the repertoire may or may not be notated, and does this fall into contemporary or does this fall into repertoire, again a blended program?
If they could do inquiry, they could do contemporary, they could do repertoire. But if they come to a repertoire exam, then their music must be fully notated, fully within stylistic boundaries, but in Western 5-line notation.
Okay. And on the ensemble piece, for if we've got repertoire, a trio, are we in bringing the notated music to the exam? Does it need to be the fully scored ensemble piece if that ensemble is more than 2 people?
I feel like such a bossy boots answering this question. But I'm lucky because I've been involved in the list space, so these are questions that have come up a lot in the last few weeks. As long as the person being assessed is playing from what is substantially notated material, then they could, without penalty, be accompanied by a more freer improvised accompaniment, particularly if that's stylistically the way to go. Few jazz pianists or guitarists worth their salt will play off a completely notated accompaniment, but as long as what the student's presenting is fully notated, then they can meet the criteria for repertoire. Kelly.
Just heading back to non-Western instruments, thinking gulchang, pipa, instruments where I think it's going to be more challenging for us to find works that have been written by Australian composers since 1990. Has there been any consideration there, or do we need to start getting works written?
Yep. The kids can start composing, they can find composer friends, you can find student composers. In my experience of hanging around the dark corners of the internet where composers gather, I've seen things I can't unsee, but what I will say is, mostly in the form of music notation, composers are always looking for people to play their music. And if you say, oh, write a piece for my instrument, there's a bunch of other kids who want to play this work, then that's exciting, particularly if it's a composer they can meet, Leon, you know? If it's a composer that they can get on the phone to and actually have that interaction and co-develop or work together, that sounds like a bridge into professional practice to me. So that's exciting. It's challenging, but it's really exciting and worth doing, because if we're not commissioning new work, then guess what? Our art form dies and we become a museum culture, yeah?
Just to add, I mean, I can remember when it was HSC too, and you'd have gone through all the iterations of VCE, and I can remember when we added Australian works, and there was a huge uproar. Why should we play an Australian work? I think we've come a long way, and this is our next opportunity. And I take your point. If there isn't a work available, you write one, you'll know it better than anybody else, and you'll probably do really well.
Yeah. It's, yes, in the... You ask them to work for free, or if you have some money, then you pay them. But most composers will write a short work for free, particularly the student composers who are looking for exposure and something to put on their CV. Microphone?
Hello, Leah Humphrey from Warrnambool College. If
yes, you shouldn't pay composers. Go on.
Only have to play one from the list. Theoretically, could a student compose the remainder of their set and still tick that ensemble work and post 1990 Australian and just play one from the list and then fully self-compose the rest of their set?
If they're competent composers and they can demonstrate broad attainment across all of the criteria, then why wouldn't they do that? It's what Elena Katz-Chernin did. She graduated at Sydney Con playing her own piano concerto. Rachmaninoff did the same thing, so it's definitely doable and cool. A question over here? No, that's eagerly waiting by the door. I think we're done for questions. Oh, loud, big voice, please. Absolutely not. Yeah, it's got to be 5-line notation, because what we're really looking at is the ability to interpret notation that's a lingua franca between the panelists, the teacher and the performer. So if kids come up and play a graphic score piece, it's going to be impossible for us to exercise judgment against the criteria as published. I think you'd be taking an incredible risk with your students' results by doing that. Particularly if you want to do that, you can do it in contemporary and inquiry. Why would you go to the repertoire subject with notation that's not asked for in the state of design? It's just setting the kid up to fail. I'm not opposed to, well, I'm a bit opposed to graphic scoring. It's just a self-respect thing, but I mean, I understand that there are people who use it, but I'm getting the wind-up sign from Lindley, the patting the head. A question.
Hi, I'm David. How about an international student who can compose their own work?
Well, I mean, I guess if that's a very good one. I guess if they're a permanent resident doing VCE living in Australia, then... The question is there going to be, Mark, block your ears, is there going to be a witch hunt where someone goes, oh, that Australian work wasn't Australian enough? You know, any McCarthyites out there, you know, come on. I don't think there's going to be a witch hunt because someone may have been born in New Zealand, you know. Or failed to renounce their New Zealand citizenship prior to the exam, you know. I think we're done. So, please... Please, a huge round of applause for Jenny and Jenny. Please feel free to stalk them on social media. I'm answering questions in the foyer also about anything offensive I've said. I'm sorry, and I'm also answering questions about Israel-Palestine too. So.
Where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no dreaming, the people die. Trust your heartbeat. Trust your dreams, keep your light in your eyes, keep making music and never lose sight of why we do what we do. Thank you.